welcome to my channel. And what are we doing today? Today we will be talking about comparing colors. Why is it so important? Basically because here in the country of Belize, we do have access to watercolor paints. Now I'm looking specifically at watercolors. Guys, I love you, but I can't help you when it comes to oil and acrylic. Maybe wash I could help you, but oils and acrylic, no, that is not my flavor. You know, I keep saying I'm a green tea kind of person. I don't really like black tea, and I'm not really into fancy exotic teas like strawberry teas. I could do a good herbal tea mixing with a little cinnamon, maybe a little bit of ginger, you know, a little bit of fruit peelings, but those kind of teas, no problem. But as for oil and acrylic, it is not my cup of tea. So sorry guys, I love you, but I can't help you because that's not the area of art I like to practice. Okay, so I'm basically talking about watercolor paints. We do have access to watercolor paints here in the country of Belize. Three brands of watercolor paints that I have found here in the country of Belize that I enjoy using is the Sargent Art watercolor tube set. I also enjoy using the Marie's watercolor paint sets, and we also have access to the Stylix watercolor sets. That is so cool. I went to my local art and stationery store the other day, and I got really excited when I saw the Winsor & Newton label. Unfortunately, it was Winsor & Newton oil paints. I was like, man, I got so excited for a minute there. I was like, man, it was bad. It was bad. It was like a kid going to the store for the first time, and their parents are telling them they're getting a new bike for Christmas, and the bike, you look at the bike and it's a toy one. Yeah, but it's okay. It's okay. All the love for my oil painters out there. We do have Winsor & Newton oil paints in the country of Belize available. I know I've been rambling on for some minutes and we're not even getting to the topic. Anyway, let me get to the topic today. Like I said, we do have access to those paints in the country, and I was wondering, how does the colors that we find in these watercolor tube sets compare to professional brands? What I'm meaning is, follow me here. Does, like, let's say for instance, the Sargent Art watercolor tube set comes with a color named red. Just for example, named red. Does that color red compares to the color red that is in maybe a Daniel Smith or an M. Graham, or even Paul Rubens? You know, how does it compare to these? You know, so that was my curiosity. And so because I had that curiosity, I kind of noticed that there's a lot of colors that are in those watercolor tube sets that basically have the same name. Then I asked, do they have the same color? And that's what this vlog is about to find out. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so the first color, as you guys are seeing, as we're working out with, is called Ultramarine. Now I use my Arteza watercolor sketchbook here to do this, and I use this book for one specific reason. One, I love working in sketchbooks. Two, I do understand Arteza is not the best watercolor paper there is. I mean, I do have better. I'm not saying I don't, but we here in the country of Belize does not have access at this time. We will definitely in the future. I mean, the art community and the access to quality art supplies in the country of Belize is getting better by the minute, literally, guys. But so I said, you know what, let me try one of the cheapest papers I have. And the Arteza paper, it is a sketchbook, and it is one of the cheaper sketchbooks papers I have. So I just wanted to see how it looks on this kind of paper. Let me put on my light to give you guys better view, and I hope this helps. My pointer tool. So yes, we're looking at Ultramarine. Now Ultramarine is famously called the PB29 pigment because most PB29 pigments are ultramarine. Now I amazingly do have the actual pigment powder PB29, which I make handmade watercolor paints with. So I do have a little bit of PB29 pigment, and I swatched that out first. Well, no, that one is Persian blue. This is PB29 pigment. Yeah. I don't know where my head is at today. Maybe it's because I'm hungry. Every time I'm hungry, I act funny. Anyway, so yeah, that's a PB29 pigment. And this is my watercolor swatch. I like to think of it as the purest form of that color there is, because I do not add any extra filling into my pigments. I just basically use the gum arabic, water, a little bit of honey, some glycerin, and mix it all up. Make sure the pigment powder is well grounded, and this is the color produced. So it's all natural. It's almost pure pigment, you know? And look at that. Beautiful color. Now there's another type of ultramarine called the French ultramarine. And I thought I remembered the difference between ultramarine. I think the French ultramarine is the same PB29 pigment. Oh gosh, I forgot why it's not made by French people. I think it's more synthetic than the ultramarine pigment, something like that. And that's why they have French ultramarine and ultramarine, where ultramarine is more pure from the lapis lazuli and French ultramarine is a little more synthetic. I think that's the reason. But let me know in the comments below if I'm on the right track, okay? So yeah, this is how my ultramarine swatched out. PB29, French ultramarine by Daniel Smith, PB29. This is how the M-gram ultramarine blue swatched out. Beautiful colors. However, Sergeant Art ultramarine blue, I'm not colorblind, guys. This is actually very, very purple. This is a very purpley color. I keep thinking and keep wondering if Sergeant Art actually uses ultramarine violet, because I do know that is a pigment, and they're using ultramarine violet and they're saying it's ultramarine blue. Or how do they make their ultramarine blue look violet? Please, Sergeant Art, help me out. You have French ultramarine here by Paul Rubin. Looks how beautiful that color looks. I have some dot cards from Van Gogh, and I swatched out, and this is some long time ago, guys. This is like from almost a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago, from Van Gogh, and this is how it's swatched out. This is the Stylex ultramarine blue. Beautiful color. Even though the Stylex is a more bargain friendly brand, you can actually see that coverage right here. This is the Marie's ultramarine blue, and when comparing the Marie's ultramarine blue to my ultramarine, or even the ultramarine along this line, except the Van Gogh, because that kind of looks purpley to me, it seems that the Marie ultramarine blue is very, very dark. I mean, it looks almost as if having it's darkened somehow. The Van Gogh actually do have a purple tinge to it, but you know, it's not as purple as the Sergeant Art. I have some Sennelier ultramarine deep. Derwent Intense had an ultramarine pigments, and also Derwent Intense also have French ultramarine. As you can see how dark that is, almost comparable to the Marie's ultramarine. Winsor & Newton China, I have some samples of their ultramarine, and French ultramarine by this handmade watercolor is called Artistic Isle. I bought some handmade watercolor from her a couple years ago, and one of the samples I got from her was French ultramarine, and look how beautiful that looks. So I'm not saying that the Sergeant Art ultramarine blue or the Marie's ultramarine blue or the Stylex ultramarine blue does not have true ultramarine pigment. I just want to know how they get it that purple. You know, and for Stylex, you know, it looks a little chalky, but in hindsight, it is not chalky at all. I guess it's just the way it covers. And for the Marie's ultramarine, it is actually very dark. So when you compare them, it is, you know, I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments below if you think that they having true ultramarine pigments or not. I think I blabbered on enough. Let me go and get something to eat before I say any more funny words. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next one. And guys, just to let you know, this is going to be a recurring series. I do have a few more colors to talk about. So We're going to be here for some time. Bye-bye.